and what we're hearing about the horrible news about the Colorado River, we were sort of obligated to do the service today. So we have several parts to this today, and 4 of us Green Team members will be talking about different aspects of water. So first up is Zara, and she's going to be talking about the spirituality of water.
Can everyone hear me? Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Aura, and I am a member of this congregation and of the Green Team. Today, I will be talking a little bit about the spirituality of water and how our connection to water transcends differences like culture and religious belief. Recently, I have been thinking about how lucky we are to live in a time and place where our access to water is everywhere. For most of us, we can turn on a handle, whether that be where we live or at a public institution, and the amount of water we access is essentially unlimited. Every day we wash dishes, wash our hands, take showers, do laundry, flush our toilets, and fill our water bottles. We have access to an unfathomable amount of clothing that's all produced using an even more unfathomable amount of water. We pick up food from the grocery store or from restaurants without having to think about the amount of water infrastructure that goes into the entire agricultural industry and ultimately impacts every single thing we eat. Even AI, something that's becoming more and more common every day, eats up a little bit of fresh water every single time someone uses it, amounting to tens of millions of gallons per day. Our access to water is something that's easy to take for granted because it's so ubiquitous in most of the United States and in many other parts of the world. It's easy for us to forget that for most of human history, water has been something sacred and spiritual. Across the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, water is a divine gift that is essential for life. These faiths all recognize the power of water in purification and in cleansing. In wudu, mikvah, and baptism, water is capable of cleansing not only us physically, but spiritually. In Islamic traditions in particular, water conservation is considered a sacred and essential responsibility because of its power as a cleansing, purifying, and nurturing force. Pre-Christian European folklore treated water with reverence, respect, and worship as far back as the Neolithic era. Water was seen as a force that could bring both purification and destruction. Flowing water protected against supernatural beings, washed away impurities, and was seen as the domain of water spirits. Across Europe, folklore all identified different spirits, fae, or stories of deities that lived in water. In Buddhism, water is frequently used as a symbol for anitya, one of the 3 essential truths of existence. Excuse my pronunciation on that, I'm not sure. This is the truth of impermanence, that all existence, without exception, is temporary, transient, and inconstant. Water is also frequently used as an analogy for mindfulness and for non-attachment. If our mind is like water, then things like cravings and anger create turbulence and cloudiness that prevent us from being able to reflect on things clearly. Water is commonly used on altars to represent the purity and clarity of the Buddhas who were able to maintain this mindfulness. In Buddhism, water is also one of the essential elements that emphasize the interconnectedness of everything in the universe, that all things exist in a constant state of exchange. This means that essential elements like water that make up our bodies are not possessions that belong to the self, but rather a little bit of water that we get to borrow while we have the temporary experience of living here on Earth. Taoism idealizes water as an ultimate metaphor for the way, or the ideal way to live our lives. Water embodies goodness, a capacity to nurture and benefit in the same way that water brings life to its surroundings, without a hidden agenda and without waiting for recognition, but simply because of its essence. Water, although it is yielding and fluid, is able to erode rock into dust. Being like water does not mean being passive and going with the flow to the extent that we do not work to challenge injustices. Water navigates obstacles and oppression with a powerful persistence, by flowing around and through things that stand in its way and by eroding them without losing its own essence. If we choose to be like water in this sense, adapting to our circumstances without rigidity and creating change with calm persistence, we can create movements that last without losing ourselves in it. Across India, Hinduism honors all rivers as sacred. Like in Buddhism, Hinduism recognizes water as one of the essential prime elements and an essential nurturer that ensures life's ability to prosper. Hindus recognize that any source of nurturance is deserving of worship, rendering all water sources sacred. As India faces its own water crisis, some acknowledge that the convenience of industrialized water sources has broken some of that connection to the bodies of water that provide for us. Excuse me, I don't know what that pop-up is coming from. Okay, there we go. Hindu ancestors would start the day with holy mantras to worship bodies of water that they used to bathe. Now, those traditions are being challenged by the convenience of being able to turn on a faucet. Across Africa, there are countless cultures with a strong spiritual emphasis on water. Water is often recognized as a conscious, feminine force that flows with intention, power, and memory. Across Nigeria, there is the folklore tradition of Mother Water, a feminine spirit that symbolizes healing and protection. This celebration and reverence of Mother Water was spread to the Caribbean and South America by the slave trade and now endures across continents. Across African folklore and pre-colonial faith practices in several countries, bodies of water hold powerful spiritual significance. They're sometimes seen as pathways that connect us to our ancestors, as oracles and a medium for healing, as an archive that remembers the history of the culture that surrounds it. Across the entire African continent, sacred ecology views the conservation and protection of water as an important practice of a respectful, spiritual relationship. Benefiting from the power and the gift of water requires respecting, protecting, and caring for it. With this mindset and belief, water does not represent a resource to exploit the way it's often treated in the United States. Instead, it's something we exist in relationship with as a part of the natural world. Like in African faiths, beliefs across the indigenous Americas regard water as a living and conscious entity rather than an exploitable resource. They frequently refer to water as Earth's lifeblood. In indigenous beliefs, women in particular are often considered water carriers and assigned a sacred duty to protect water. Across the Great Plains in the American West, water supply is very visibly finite, and indigenous populations prioritized the intentional use and conservation of water as an inherent part of daily life. The Blackfeet honor three distinct realms of existence, water, earth, and sky, and treat water in particular as a distinct and sacred plane that is the home of divine beings and animals that we can learn from. The Lakota phrase, "water is life," became a protest anthem in the fight against environmentally destructive practices like the Dakota Access Pipeline. It seems that across the entire world, for as long as there have been people, water has been a deeply spiritual and sacred life force. So, as we come into one of the driest years on record and look forward to a growing water crisis marked by industrialized agriculture and manufactured goods, climate change, and a lack of equity in water access, it's easy to wonder how we ended up here. But I believe that if we as everyday people remember that water is a gift, and that our relationships with Earth's resources are more successful when they are rooted in mutual appreciation and exchange rather than exploitation, we have the ability to change things. If we remember the principle of flowing like water, we can carve canyons and move mountains to create a future where there is enough water for everyone in the interconnected web of all things. Now I will turn the time over to Kathleen to tell us a little bit more about what World Water Day means and where it comes from.
World Water Day is an annual UN observance held annually on March 22nd since 1993. World Water Day focuses on the importance of fresh water and raising awareness for the 2.1 billion people globally who live without reliable access to it, almost a quarter of our global population. The focus of World Water Day is to understand and promote ways we can all take action to address water scarcity and sustainability. The UN has established a goal to achieve water and sanitation for all by the year 2030. Each year, the UN sets a theme for World Water Day to highlight a specific element of water access and sustainability. The theme for 2026 is water and gender. This means prioritizing the raising awareness of how a lack of water equity equally impacts women across a variety of cultures. Women and girls bear a unique burden when water, sanitation, and hygiene are not accessible. Across many cultures, women are responsible for collection, management, and distribution of water. Despite this, they are often left out of important decision-making around water access. This year, the UN focuses on how to support women into stepping into more leadership decision-making goals as engineers, farmers, scientists, caregivers, and change makers. The UN has highlighted 3 key points focusing on water and gender, which are as follows. 1, the global water crisis affects everyone, but not equally. Where people lack the human rights to safe drinking water and sanitation, inequalities flourish, with women and girls bearing the brunt. It's time to center women and girls in water solutions. Women must shape the future of water. Water services must withstand climate change and meet everyone's needs. We need a transformative, rights-based approach to solving the water crisis where women's voices, leadership, and agency are fully recognized. 3, where water flows, equality flows. When women and girls have equal voice in water decisions, services become more inclusive, sustainable, and effective. We must invest in women's leadership to make water a force for a healthier, more prosperous, gender-equal future that will benefit us all.
Somebody took my notes here. Oh, here we are. Water is the most essential natural resource on Earth, and I think its abundance makes us all take it for granted. But here in western Colorado and the Southwest, we know we're headed for a water crisis. They're saying as many as 40 million people are going to be affected. Our mountain snowpack is about 40% below average. And NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency, has said that the Colorado River runoff is going to be 27% of normal. That's pretty scary to me. We do have a lot of water storage around the western slope. I think a lot of us are familiar with Blue Mesa, Rudeye Reservoir, Green Mountain, Flaming Gorge, and all those are at record low levels. In the main Colorado River reservoirs of Lake Powell, Lake Mead, and Lake Havasu are approaching what they call dead pool, in which there's not enough water to even pass through the dam without maybe cutting some new channels. And also, it's not only just the water aspect, it's the electricity that all those dams are creating that's going to affect hundreds of thousands of people in the Southwest. 78% of the Colorado River water is used for agriculture, and only 22% is used for municipal and industrial use. So it's kind of critical for us promoting our 7th principle here to take actions. I always thought it's kind of funny that principle talks about respect, but it seems like we should be doing more than just kind of recognizing it and engaging in politeness there. I think before we engage any more with irrigation, we kind of need to know what it's all about. And we have this projection here, and this is the Grand Valley, and it's showing the irrigation districts. And I'll comment a little bit on some of those. Up in the upper right-hand corner there at the very top, that's the Mesa County Irrigation District. It's pretty small. Underneath that's the Palisade Irrigation District, another fairly small district. And the main one, the kind of the lavender-looking one, is the Grand Valley Irrigation Company District. And the Grand Valley Canal is one we all often see when we're driving around town. And the green at the top is the Grand Valley water users, and that's most accommodated by the Highline Canal. Kind of runs fairly close to the Book Cliffs in a lot of areas. And then down in the lower right-hand corner, that kind of turquoise color, that's the Orchard Mesa Irrigation District, which serves central Orchard Mesa and east Orchard Mesa. And all those irrigation districts are, it's not treated water, it's all just what we call ditch water. All those come from diversions out of the Colorado River. Most of them are up in DeBeck Canyon around Cameo, and, except for Ute water. Ute water comes off the north of the Grand Mesa and empties into a couple of reservoirs called Jerry Creek. And there's a huge pipeline, probably 6 inches, 6 feet in diameter, that services that Lavender district there. And the red area is the Redlands Water and Power, and that's the only district here that I'm aware of in the valley that draws water from the Gunnison. All the rest of those depend on the Colorado River. Now I want to talk a little bit about the domestic water supply. I don't know, Ann, can you bring up that other map? I might mention that a lot of these districts, because they're on higher ground than the Colorado River, there's a lot of pumping stations involved in these irrigation systems. We don't always see them, but there's a number of them. Now, a lot of us, if we're not farming, these irrigation districts didn't mean a whole lot. We see them, but we eat the food that's grown on them. But we are more accustomed to our own domestic water systems. We have several domestic water systems in the valley. The town of Palisade, which is fairly small, it's that darker blue kind of on the right-hand part of the screen. The Clifton Water District, well, actually, that's the Clifton Water District's kind of that little darker blue in the center of the screen there. The major one is the Ute Water Conservation District, and that's the lighter blue that you see on the map there. And the fourth domestic water system is the city of Grand Junction. It's quite small, and these are all treated water systems. The town of Palisades, their water treatment plant is pretty close to town there. Clifton Water District treats their water, I think it's off of 32 Road, but I think all of us see one of their water storage tanks when you drive I-70 at the Clifton exit. You see that huge tank there. That's the Clifton Water District tank. And the reason it's up there, because once you get water up there, and then it's all gravity flow and can provide pressure to our households. In Ute water, as I mentioned, It pulls water off the north, U-Water pulls water off the northwest side of the Grand Mesa. And I think I mentioned erroneously that that's where that pipeline is. In the city of Grand Junction, that watershed doesn't come from the Colorado River. It comes off Canna Creek, which is on the southwest part of Grand Mesa. And I contacted the city utility water manager the other day and said, well, do you have backup water if Canna Creek runs dry? And he said no. So the city is relying on that Canna Creek watershed, and that comes off the southwest side of the Grand Mesa. And the water treatment plant is up near the city cemetery, if you've ever been up there. So anyway, if we're going to promote our seventh principle here regarding water, I think it's kind of important that when we hear news about drilling in our watershed, or you hear about an I-70 accident, maybe a truck turns over and it's dispelling toxic materials in the river, or you hear news stories about corporations that are, or even legislators that are promoting heavy industrial uses, new industrial uses of our water, or if we have contamination of our water treatment plants, or if our mountain reservoirs are unable to supply us with water, I think as UUs we need to be educated so we can respond to these things. And there's a number of sources for getting ourselves educated. One is the Ruth Hutchinson's water forum that the college sponsors, and actually one of our members and one of our continuing donors, Tad Hutchins, his mother donated the $1 million to fund that foundation. So you can pull information about the Colorado River from that Ruth Hutchins Water Center Foundation. I think as good UUs, we might encourage farmers to look at some drought-resistant crops. There's no reason to keep growing alfalfa just to feed cows. And if there's other things that we can grow to eat that are drought-resistant, that would be good. One thing I did want to mention, I have this book. It's called Where the Water Goes. It's a great testimony of the whole stretch of the Colorado River. This author, David Owen, started up at the headwaters of the Colorado River up in Rocky Mountain National Park, where it's just a trickle. And he took a road trip and he went all the way through the length of the Colorado River. And it's a great read because it's not just crammed full of technical statistics and things. He talks about the communities that the water passes through. So it's a really fun read. I suggest if you get this book and read it. So when you hear news about the Colorado River, what's going on with the Central Arizona Project, et cetera, it's a great read, and it really informs you. Another thing that we need to stay apprised of is the Colorado River Water District. I don't know if you guys are familiar enough, but there was a compact to address the water distribution for the Colorado River. We have an upper Colorado district and a lower. The upper comprised the states of Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and New Mexico. And the lower states are Nevada, California, Arizona, and Mexico. And right now there's a lot of negotiation going on. A lot of it's very contentious. Nobody seems to want to sacrifice. But the problem is when we enacted that river compact in 1922, we had 22 million acre feet of water flowing into Lake Powell, and right now we're down to 7 million acre feet of water. So something's going to have to be done there. But like I said, nobody seems to want to make the sacrifices. As UU households, we are probably averaging about 4,200 gallons of water a month. That's an average. Some of your households are smaller, don't do that. Some are bigger. But now I think Chris is going to talk to us about what physical actions we might be able to take to conserve water. Some of these things may sound small, but if thousands of us do it, it will really help us promote our seventh principle.
So, can one person make a difference in conservation of water? Yes, you can. Water storage is measured in acre feet. That's, an acre is 208 feet by 208 feet and 1 foot deep. That's 1 acre foot. That's 325,841 gallons of water. To save 1 acre foot of water a year, 100 people need to save 9 gallons a day. In Colorado, that would be about 5 to 8% of the average water use. Our congregation is around 100 people. If everyone in the congregation saved 9 gallons a day, we could save 1 acre foot. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if 1,000 people saved 9 gallons a day, we would save 10 acre feet. And if all water users, all 90,000 water users saved 9 gallons a day, we could save 900 acre feet, which is essentially a 90-foot reservoir 10 feet deep. That's a lot of water. Collectively, we can make a difference. I'm not going to try and read all the water. Did you bring the handouts, Kathleen? Okay, so we have handouts in the back that list a lot of different water-saving measures, and I'm going to just highlight a few of them rather than read the whole thing. One of the biggest wasters of water is water leaks. Leaky toilets can waste 200 gallons a day. Leaky faucets can leak because they're constantly dripping, can waste a huge amount of water. When you take a shower, do you run the water for 5 minutes to heat it up before you get in? Showers use 5 gallons per minute. That's 25 gallons going down the drain. You can put a bucket in the shower, collect some of that water, and use it to water your plants outside. Short showers use less water than full tubs, so they recommend taking a short shower rather than filling a tub takes 30 to 50 gallons. In the kitchen and laundry, don't run your dishwasher or your laundry unless you have a full load. Don't let water run constantly if you wash dishes by hand. You can turn it off in between rinsing. The same thing applies in your shower. You don't have to run the shower full blast for 10 minutes if you're going to wash your hair. Get it wet, lather it up, and while it's lathering, you can shut off the water and then turn it on again to rinse. It's amazing how much water you can save by just thinking about shutting off the faucets from time to time. In the lawn and garden, if you have a lawn, mow high. The higher you mow, the less water the plants will use because they can send deeper roots into the ground. Water less frequently, but deeper. If you water more twice a week rather than a little bit every single day, again, you'll get deeper roots. The grass will survive drought much better. If you can afford to xeriscape and plant native grasses, that is preferable to green lawns. We live in a desert. We should not be looking like we live in the Midwest where rainfall is 10 times what it is here. One thing that the handout does not talk about is the water footprint of food. Choices you make and what you eat also can affect how much water we use. Animal agriculture in the U.S. accounts for 40% of all water use. In Colorado, 90% of the water goes to agriculture, and at least half of that goes to raise livestock. 1 pound of beef takes between 1,800 and 5,000 gallons of water. 1 pound of beef. 98% of that water goes to watering food for the beef, for the cows. A lot of that food, corn and soybeans and oats and barley, are actually could be eaten by humans rather than by cows. To raise 1 pound of beef takes 20 pounds of plant protein. So you're taking 20 pounds of soybeans to create 1 pound of beef protein. And soybeans only take 250 gallons of water. So your choices in eating a more plant-based diet can help conserve water. It's one of the biggest users of water, animal agriculture is, and it's also one of the biggest producers of methane to contribute to climate change. So together, we can make a difference collectively. If everyone makes smart choices and does a little bit to conserve water in their own home and yard and in their diet, then we can all benefit. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Green Team. Our closing hymn today is number 1064. There's a typo in your program. 1064 in the Teal hymn book. Blue Boat Home.